a structure of mystical and alien origin, emanating particles of abstract perspectives and reflection into the expansive nightscape to those who know where to listen. This is Monolith the Mythos, the Monstro Studio podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the second episode of Monolith the Mythos, the Monstro Studio podcast. I'm Manuel, and I'm with, again, Trevor, aka Trey Spells.
Hey, what's up?
I'm excited about this episode because we're going to be talking about Blood Machines. Just came out on Thursday the 21st. The new Shudder series exclusive. I got to remember to put in the series part of it. Because I remember you showed me the trailer for it, I think September.
Yeah, last year.
It looked like it was going to be a feature movie, but then once we finally hear about its release, we hear that it's coming out on Shudder, but it's also going to be made into a series. And I thought, oh, that's cool. But then we watch it, and it's only 3 episodes. Each one's not even 20 minutes long.
And when we saw the trailer, did it even say when it was coming out? Because it never gave you a date, right? That's what I just recalled right now.
That's usually how it goes with some of these short films.
Would it be? Is it an indie?
Yes, we're quite indie. Kickstarted, actually. And
then Shudder kind of makes it like an indie to show or something, I guess.
Yep. They bought the distributions rights to it.
And if you guys don't know what Shudder is just like Hulu, Netflix, but they play a lot of horror content, horror TV shows, horror movies, a lot of good stuff. What is that, like $5.99 or something a month?
Yeah,
$5.99 a month, and it's good. You guys get through a lot of stuff within a couple months. I enjoyed it at the time I had it, and go get Shudder. Shudder did not pay us to say this.
No,
they did not.
We're just passing it along because it's actually a really great service for a lot of stuff that is hard to find.
Yes.
I would oftentimes look for random movies or either on DVDs or Blu-rays or
even some rare horror movies. You can find some rare movies on there. Foreign films are on there. Oh yeah. There was this one movie that I've heard about a while ago, but I think it's a Warner Brothers movie. Or it was one of those, or MGM, one of those Hollywood studio production types. But I think it came out in the 80s. It was called The Devils. But it was given a DVD release, in the late 90s or whatever, but never got an actual full restoration or Blu-ray treatment or even much of a digitized streaming that they would probably do nowadays kind of service to it, because I guess it was just so grotesque and vile that the Hollywood production company almost wanted nothing more to do with it. Yeah. And
from what I understand, it centers around a congregation of nuns at a church from somewhere. I'm not sure if it's foreign or American, but they start going crazy. I'm not sure if it's because some kind of holiday like Lent, only it's kind of the opposite, where they kind of do all the sinful shit they want to do. They're humping and raping each other, and I don't know, whole bunch of crazy shit goes on apparently on it. But from what but the reason I'm kind of talking about it now was because Shudder, actually, I don't know where they got it, and it seems like a lot of people didn't know where they got it. They got, I guess, a director's cut of it or uncensored, streamable version of it. I don't know if they just ripped the DVD or what.
Yeah.
But they got it playing on Shudder for some time.
Is it on there now still?
No, it doesn't seem like it's on Shudder anymore.
Oh. Well, that's a movie to look out for.
Oh, yeah.
I'm looking at the images of it, and it looks very interesting. Looks like what do you call those type of films that make you talk about them?
Controversial.
Controversial, yes. It looks like a controversial film.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like it takes place in 17th century France. So,
yeah, I'm not exactly sure of the time period for it, but seems like a fun watch.
Yeah, it looks like we could watch that one. It's from 1971.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay. And even though we're not sponsored by Shudder, I might as well give out because I use this too. Because of the lockdown times we've been having, if you use the promotional code SHUTIN, instead of getting a 1-week trial, you get a 30-day trial.
Yes.
So, and that's what I used for us to watch this episode's topic movie, Blood Machines.
We'll have to check out some more films on there.
Oh, yeah, definitely. But before we talk about Blood Machines, we can talk about what we saw recently. I actually didn't really see much. I kind of fell into like a weird YouTube pit.
Mm-hmm. Some YouTube videos.
Yeah, that's what I usually spend most of my time doing is just kind of digging deeper and deeper into some random stuff on YouTube. And this time around, it was kind of a repeat. Sometimes I'll watch all these videos talking about Disneyland. Have you ever been to Disneyland?
I have not been to Disneyland, but it's funny that you bring up that. So you watched multiple videos then of some of this stuff? Because I remember when I was over at Justin, or when me and Justin were over, we watched just like one of them, right? But so you continue to watch more of them?
Yeah, I remember that's actually one of my favorite videos about Disneyland. It was
the Pirates.
It was about the engineering behind the Tower of Terror ride.
Oh.
One of the things I do remember that watching some of these videos reminded me of was there's a Indiana Jones ride called the Temple of Doom.
Ooh.
And it's not really based on any movie. It's kind of its own thing. But you ride in a Jeep that just throws you around. It has mad hydraulics. Jeez. So it just, as you're riding, it just like bumps you everywhere. You get a seatbelt, but that's about it. And some bars to like hold onto, but
yeah,
like it jiggles you around quite a bit. And the theme behind the ride is you're driving through a temple, but you piss off like a god statue inside the temple. So the temple kind of tries to kill you with like falling rocks, fire. There's a giant snake.
Mm-hmm.
And but before the very beginning though, right as you go into the ride and the Jeep kind of turns, there are three. You're met with 3 doors, and you always go into one of them. Either the first door on the very left was you go in there if you want to know the future. So it's kind of just like you seek the door of the future or something like that.
Yeah.
And then once you go in there, there's a giant statue, and it gets all pissed off. Asshole! You looked into my eyes. Why did you do that? Now you must die.
Oh, jeez.
And you're just like, well, I can't help it because you're really huge, and they're just kind of open right there. I know, like waiting in line, we're told not to look into the eyes, but they're just right there and they're glowing. So how can you blame us?
Yeah.
Honestly. And then the middle one is like riches, like all kinds of treasure. You go in there, there's just a whole bunch of treasure on the sides. And the third one on the very far right is like a fountain of youth. But they all lead to the same thing. It's just like, you looked into my eyes. Now your future is doom.
Wow.
Which but what was interesting is that you could ride the Indiana Jones Temple of Doom multiple times, and each time you can go into a different door. Now, and that's because Are you
with people while you're doing that?
Yeah. It's a Jeep full of people. Like 12 people per Jeep, I think.
12 people per Jeep?
Maybe 16, because it's 4 rows of 4 people, maybe 5 even. It's like 16, at least 16 people.
Is it like one of those like safari type long Jeeps or something?
Yeah, you're riding with like at least 16 other people.
Like a tour Jeep or something?
Yeah.
Nice.
And then, but you start the ride by going either the left, middle, or right door, and it's different every time you ride it. And I found out in the videos I would watch, it's actually a rotating wall, so it's all every time the Jeep is going through the same hallway,
right,
but it changes the door by rotating the wall. But I guess in 2015 that rotating wall broke, or it was about to or it fractured so much that if they kept it going, it would just break everything entirely. So since 2015, it's been stuck in the middle door. So no matter what, now everybody always goes through the middle door for the riches.
Wow, that's interesting.
And the treasure.
Wow.
So it didn't really even occur to me that when I went on the ride in 2016 that we went through the middle door because it was stuck there. And now it's probably too huge to actually fix. So it'll probably be like that forever.
That's interesting, man. So you said there's a total of 3 doors?
Yeah.
Wow. So it's like people that went through the first and the third door, that was their experience, and then no one else gets to experience that, right?
Nope. Nobody else gets to experience going through the Fountain of Youth or to see the future.
Now that's something to look up on YouTube, is see what the first and third door is if someone was filming it.
Granted, I would say, yeah.
I'm sure there'd be some footage.
Mm-hmm. Granted, I would say that treasures and riches is probably much more better than being youthful or knowing your future.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm fine with going through the middle door to get the riches, but...
That's so weird. It's like, do they want to keep that a conspiracy, or they never want to get it fixed? I mean, they got the money.
They have the money, but I guess it's just they're having so many people come over so much, they can't shut down the ride just to fix that one thing. And like, especially if that one thing, it would be a huge fix, because I guess that rotating wall is just enormous.
Yeah, I would have to look up some images and videos to see what you're talking about there. Like, I try to create of something. I'm just I'm created a platform in my mind of something rotating to different doors, or like, you're in the Jeep, right, and you're driving up to these doors.
Yep.
But you can only pick the second, or it only picks the second one for you, right?
Mm-hmm. I would recommend like watching some of these, especially there's a lot of channels where it's just people going onto these rides with cameras. Right. So you don't have to drive all the way out to Anaheim, pay like $100 for a 1-day ticket just to go to one park. You can't hop between Disneyland or Disney California Adventures.
Where is the Star Wars Galaxy thing at?
That's newer, and it's going to be kind of like... I think it's going to be off on its own area.
Yeah, a lot of people keep talking about that, and I see videos online. I'm just like, well, is this connected? Is it off to the side? Is everything connected? Like, or is it like you don't go too far though, right? Or is it driving distance?
Oh no! The entrances are like right in front of each other.
Oh, they're right in front of each other.
Yeah, which also makes me wonder where they would have Star Wars Land.
They opened it. I think they opened it last year, right? In May last year.
Yep.
So I want to say at least 4 years, because I was actually keeping up to date with that thing. I was like, when is this thing going to get done? And then it got delayed, and then got done, and got delayed again.
And then they opened it only for like certain people for a month.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's something I definitely want to do. Because being a Star Wars fan since I was a kid, that would have to be the number one thing I do at Disneyland.
Yeah.
But it's like,
too.
Is it a part of Disneyland, or is that the whole separate thing? Like, hey, let's say I just want to go to Star Wars Galaxy Edge. I'm
actually not sure. That's a good question. I want to say it's part of Disneyland. Mm-hmm. So that way you don't have to pay for an extra ticket to go to Star Wars Land. But
right,
going back into Tomorrowland, whenever I would go there, I remember seeing these rows of like concrete tracks and support beams holding them up. They also had the monorail there too, but I never seen the monorail go on it, and I never really knew what those were for. They were always just there and remained like kind of empty, vacant. Nothing was ever going on them. But I learned on YouTube that it used to be for a kind of ride called the People Mover. And it was just a slow kind of cart. You go up the stairs on it to it, and you go in these carts, and it just slowly like moves you from one place to the other. That wasn't as great of a distance as the Disneyland Railroad or the monorail. And I guess it was really, really popular, but for whatever reason, the people that built it didn't build it very well because it started breaking down.
Oh, jeez.
Even with just how slow the ride would move. So for a long time, it would always constantly go down, and people wouldn't be able to go on it for months. And then they open it back up, and after a few months, it would break down again. Until for several years, it wasn't being used. Maybe like a decade or more.
Yeah.
But then, sometime in the 80s or 90s, probably the 90s, they brought it back, but instead of being the People Mover, they called it was something called rocket rods. It was basically the same idea, but you go on it with one, two, or up to 4 people, I think, and it goes much faster. Much, much faster. So it was almost like an actual ride instead of just a place to rest your feet and go from one place to another, or like overlook the park at a high place.
Yeah.
I guess it was really, really bad because there were so many turns on the tracks that it was specifically built for a slower moving cart. So you're going fast on this rocket rod, but once you got to a turn, it had to slow itself down, make the turn, and then go fast again. And then go to another turn, slow down, and fast. So you're just constantly going fast, like halting, and then going fast again, and then halting. And I guess it was really just a pain to ride on. Wow. And even then, once they had that going on for a few months, that only made the tracks break down even more. To the point where they can't be, like, it's like irreparable now.
It can't even be used.
Nope. So those like rails, those trails of concrete and support beams just sit there forever now, basically.
Isn't that weird how some things just sit there forever?
Yeah.
After they were once being used.
Exactly. That's the
which goes back
thing of it.
Yeah, like which goes back to the Indiana Jones thing that you're talking about. It's just like, instead of just fixing it, they just, you only get one option. Do you think they get complaints on shit like that? Like how you were talking about, because that story really was interesting to me. How they only have one door now to open. Like, do you think people complain like, hey, I rode this multiple times. Are you guys going to pick a different door?
I'm pretty sure they'll ask a cast member about it. Just like, somebody who watches the lines, or maybe watches the fast pass ticket.
So, and it brings
fast pass ticket receiver. And they just kind of tell them, like that shit's busted. So I guess the last thing I'll bring up is actually a recent change that happened recently. I want to say last year. On the Pirates of the Caribbean ride. Yeah. For the most part, going on Pirates of the Caribbean, the ride was always the same. You're on a boat, you pass by some skeletons, and then you go past by a pirate ship shooting cannons, and then you go through this kind of town by the river, being overrun by pirates. And they're always singing "Yo ho, yo ho, a pirate's life for me." That's the song that they actually in the very first scene in Pirates of the Caribbean, that little girl is singing "Yo ho, yo ho, pirate's life for me" in the movie.
Okay, you make me want to rewatch the first Pirates of the Caribbean. Actually,
at least the first one.
that was my favorite one. That was the groundbreaking one for me, and that one about the curse
of the Black Pearl.
Okay, Curse of the Black Pearl. That's right. Okay, now the ending's coming back to me. Like when they're standing on treasure and they're just like all in that area. That was a good movie.
Oh yeah, I always love that one line too. It's all like, you best start believing in nightmares. You're living in one.
Oh jeez.
Something like that. I love that line, that scene, that whole sequence. One of the first renovations I remember of the Pirates of the Caribbean ride was because of the movies coming out. Mm-hmm. So they threw in a bunch of Jack Sparrow animatronics on the ride. So you have Jack Sparrow there. It looks like Johnny Depp in his costume, and his movements are a lot more fluid, and compared to all these other animatronics that I'm pretty sure have been there since it opened in the late 60s.
Yeah.
So they still look, for what the ride is, they still look great, but it's just, they're so limited, and they look like they were designed in the 60s. The newer iteration that they have it now is mainly just this one part of the ride where it's like a bride auction. So it's
that's right.
They have these lines of like really like sad women like tied up on a rope.
Yeah.
And at the end of the like the line, like the lady that's being auctioned off is this kind of bigger lady. But but all the pirates want to place their bids on this sexy red-headed woman in a red dress. So and the auctioneer is just like, no, we have to auction off this woman first. So I guess because of Me Too and all of that, too, they changed that part of the ride to where the red dressed woman is now like basically taking over the auction, and like she has like I think she has like 2 rifles or 2 guns or something, and she's like setting all like the brides free. And I don't know if she might have some lines too, but I didn't really look that far into it. But I'd rather just go back again and see for myself how it looks. I'm sure there might have been a minor uproar about the change of it, but that's fine.
Yeah, it'd be cool to see some. Be cool to see some comparison videos. I'm sure there's.
And then also
videos.
And also since you brought up that like old film footage of when the ride like first opened.
Yeah.
There were a lot. I remember like there was a lot. I don't remember there being that many like Chinamen when I went on the ride. So that might have been like some stuff that they've taken out. That's kind of like the last of like what I'll get into for my Disneyland YouTube pit dive.
Dive pit YouTube. Yeah, that was great. I feel like I went to Disneyland already.
What have you been checking out? What have you been diving deep into, Trevor?
Well, I watched Demolition Man last night. So Demolition Man came out in 1993. Has Sylvester Stallone and Wesley Snipes and Sandra Bullock, and it takes place in 1996, even though the movie was made in 1993. It starts off where like they're cool action scenes. And then Sylvester Stallone fucks up on the whole thing, where he was responsible for 30 deaths of civilian people. So what they do is instead of they put him in a prison, but they put him in a frozen prison. So they freeze his body, and then for some reason they freeze Wesley Snipes' body. I don't know why they froze his body, and I guess for some reason they just had this concept of just freezing bodies. Because you find out later, they froze a lot of other criminals. I don't know why they would freeze criminals. Like, what are you going to use them later on for something? So, then the year jumps to 2032. That's the year I'm going to go with because the years were just jumping. It's a very messy movie.
Future time.
Yeah. A quick cameo. I think it was Rob Schneider. He was a cop in the movie, and
what?
Yeah, that was kind of interesting to me. Was Rob Schneider? There's actually a few faces that you see in the movie. You're just like, wait, you're popular nowadays, but at the time they were nobodies. So you probably figure Rob Schneider was a nobody in 1993, but he was one of the cops. So somehow, these people, they released Wesley Snipes out into the public. And by the way, Wesley Snipes is basically just Dennis Rodman in his movie. He's got the blonde hair, he's got the earrings, he's got the cool swag of Dennis Rodman at the time. It makes you wonder who stole whose type of swag at the time, and maybe it bounced back and forth. But Yeah, and the cops are hilarious when it comes to 2032. Like they are just dumb, like super dumb. They are just like, wait, you would talk to a cop like that? Are you serious? Like everyone is supposed to be already programmed to not use violence and cuss words and all that stuff. Like you get a ticket for using a cuss word. So like Wesley Snipes tries to get a gun at some random place. You know where he has to get a gun? He has to go get a gun at a museum. That's
they probably have better like guns there anyway.
So that means that cops are not even carrying guns. I was just like, what the hell?
What does it take place in Great Britain or something?
I don't know.
They're just clubbing everybody with batons.
Apparently, in 1993, that's how they thought that 2032 was going to go, was cops with no guns nowadays.
I mean, it's kind of like seems like it's going to steer towards there. If things keep getting out of hand, they might just have to take away some privileges.
Exactly. Yeah, that's right. I didn't think about that. Like, just give them the good old fashioned nightstick and a taser, some pepper spray.
It's free game for the public.
So Wesley Snipes is out of control. By the way, I don't even know when the last time Wesley Snipes made a movie. It might have been a while. But then the cops realize that they have Sylvester Stallone still frozen. They unfreeze him, and then he doesn't like the way things are going. So he has to meet with the mayor or something like that, Sylvester Stallone. And they're going to go out to dinner, but where their dinner is, what's fancy in the future was Taco Bell.
Taco Bell?
Taco Bell. I'm not shitting you. They even they had fancy restaurants. That's what I'm saying. This movie was fucking weird.
Sylvester Stallone, right?
Yeah, Sylvester Stallone. He's like,
I'm frozen. Now I gotta go meet the mayor at the Taco Bell. What is this?
I like Mexican food, but
I could go for a little chorrito.
Yeah. So I'm not shitting you. They had a fancy Taco Bell, like sometimes how you're seeing nowadays, but. And then Sandra Bullock was trying to.
Was it Cantina? Was it a Cantina Taco Bell?
They had waiters. It was past Cantina. Like they had menus.
And I don't know, man. They got alcoholic drinks at Cantina Taco Bells.
They made it fancy. Like it was like a sit down fancy restaurants. And
wow.
And Sandra Bullock made the joke, and he goes, well, Sylvester's like, well, what other restaurants are there? And then Sandra Bullock's like, well, she said something about like Taco Bell is the last remaining food chain. I'm like, wait, what?
Oh shit!
Taco Bell survived everybody?
Wow!
It put everybody out of business in 2032.
Not even the combination like Pizza Huts or KFCs and Taco Bells. It's just Taco Bell now.
Yeah.
Damn.
I know. I'm surprised how far they took that Taco Bell into. And then there's even a scene where like Taco Bell vans are coming in and they're dropping off food, and then these homeless people that live under the ground, like the people that don't want to live under their society because it's very controlled, they break out and they steal food. They're stealing Taco Bell out of the vans. I'm just like, wow, I was like, what is this?
So it reminds me way too much of Idiocracy.
Yeah.
Of all like brought to you by Carl's Jr. Oh, there was like another guy, like the main guy had to fight later on. I think his name was Beef Supreme.
Oh my god. Supreme.
There's just all those names where everything's just named after like Mountain Dew or Carl's Jr. and or like Starbucks is like a strip club now.
The last part I'll talk about is Sandra Bullock trying to have sex with Sylvester Stallone. Well, they're back at the house, and she goes, "Oh, would you like to have sex?" And he's like, "Well, yeah,
all right."
And she goes, "Well, give me a second." She goes back in the back room, turns off all the lights and all that stuff. He's like undressing himself, and she comes back out with like 2 helmets. And she's like, here you go. And she goes, put this on. And he puts his helmet on. She puts her helmet on. They sit 5 feet across each other. And then she just starts like
social distancing.
And she just starts like orgasming, like by herself. and and they're like having flashback scenes of them having sex, but it's like virtually.
Huh.
And then Sylvester Stallone gets pissed off. He takes the helmet off. I was like, what the hell is this? Whatever happened to old-fashioned sex? And then Sandra Bullock's like, oh, you're so gross. Do you know what happens when you have old-fashioned sex? He's like, yeah, what? You have babies? I'm like,
ew.
What?
I mean, I'm right there with them about that. But I wouldn't go so far as to just make it helmet sex.
Yeah, and Sandra Bullock's like, no, there's like diseases, there's AIDS, and like, we haven't had that in years. I'm like, oh my God, man. I don't, and then at the end of the movie, we're going to skip back to the end of the movie. He's trying to fight Wesley Snipes throughout the movie. He ends up throwing this weird chemical on the ground, and then he jumps up in the air, catches on to something. Wesley Snipes freezes up, and then while he's freezing up, Sylvester Stallone just kicks his head off his body, and it just flows to the ground and just cracks into blood. I was like, wait, that's one way to kill somebody. And yeah, Demolition Man, 1993. I give it a
sounds wild.
For a 1993 movie at the time, I give it a 7 out of 10. In 2020, I give it a 4 for did not know.
Ooh.
4 out of 10 for it, maybe a 5 just for how much it grown to be comedy. Like the whole Taco Bell thing just threw me the hell off. And Sylvester Stallone, it's like he was thrown off by it, so I still feel thrown off by it. So it was like a good connection. Like, wait, what? Taco Bell lasted all through these years? Like the number one chain.
Do you think back in the day in like the 1993 it would have thrown people off back then? Because it seems like it's more relevant now. Like maybe the movie was ahead of its time.
Yes.
They knew what it was talking about.
Yeah, and the way they had cars there, no violence, it was definitely ahead of its time. I don't think we'll be there at 2032, maybe 2052. Honestly, I don't even know. Like, we just got to get on a peace page with everybody. If there's more viruses, I think we can get on that level. You know what I mean? Like, it keeps people away from each other.
I was just thinking about Taco Bell earlier today. I'm just like, nah, I don't think I'll have anything else tonight.
Yeah. Oh, and then Sylvester Stallone, after he got frozen, they tell him his kid and wife is dead. They died in an earthquake. And he gets over it within like 10 seconds. Like he gets sad about it for a few minutes, and then all of a sudden he's like, over it.
Was this before or after he got frozen?
So this is after they unfreeze him. They he realizes his daughter and wife that he had was dead. Like and then Sandra Bullock's like, they died in an earthquake in California. And I'm just like, oh, okay. And he got sad for like a minute, and then he moved on. Just like, what? Like, how are you not devastated?
Yeah. So what else can you do?
He's got Sandra Bullock. He's got Sandra Bullock now. So yeah, that's it with Demolition Man.
Sounds exciting.
I have also watched the new Capone movie.
Ooh.
Let me bring up the director's name. His name is Josh Trank.
Okay.
I guess he directed Chronicle. Was kind of a big hit. I'd never actually seen the film, but Chronicle is about some kids that get some superpowers, and it's like a found footage film.
Oh, I've seen that.
You seen that?
Oh, that was pretty good. Yeah.
It's got a good score. So he didn't do too bad. I guess the movie he failed on was the Fantastic Four remake.
He did that?
Yeah.
Ooh,
that was his second film, which is a 4.3 out of 10. I have not seen that film. Have you seen that film?
I heard that was a stinker.
I'm surprised why, but I'll never know unless I don't watch it. So I think he tried to do something different, and he worked on Capone, and Capone's the new movie that just came out last week, I think. I think
Video on Demand.
I think the original date was May 12th, but it got all screwed up, the whole pandemic thing.
Yeah.
It stars Tom Hardy, Linda Cardellini, which is his wife in the film, and Matt Dillon. So Capone focuses on the last year of his life living, and it takes place in Florida because that's where he lived his last year. He's from Brooklyn, moved to Chicago, and then ended up in Florida. But between
Al
Florida,
Capone, right?
Yeah, Al Capone. It's based on Al Capone. Before he went to Florida, though, he did go to the Alcatraz prison. I can't remember the years. I want to say like 5 to 7 years. He was there for on tax evasion. You would think by all the murders that he might be responsible for, he went to prison for tax evasion, for not paying it. Is that the same thing as not paying your taxes? Is it tax evasion?
Yeah.
Okay, I was making...
The IRS will get you for that.
Yeah, and they were glad they did, because they were trying to understand how the hell he's making so much money from certain companies. I think he was invested... He invested into, like, milk or something like that, because milk was more popular than alcohol. So he invested in a lot of milk, and they were trying to figure out how the hell are you making so much money from this, company. But that's another story. So the movie takes place with the last year of him living, and he's got dementia. And at his age, and I did some research on his age, and he was 47 years old, I think, when he died. But when in the movie they portray him like if he was 60 years old or something. Like, I don't know how he got dementia at 47. Like, I haven't done much research on dementia, but
yeah, I bet like even just at that age, it would just having dementia would just drastically deteriorate your brain functions, and maybe even just like affects the rest of your body as well. So I would imagine something like that would they would be it would affect them as if they were like much older.
Yeah. For 47 years old, he's acting like a 70-year-old. He even looks like he's almost 70 years old, between 60 and 70. So it's focusing on the last year of him living, and, Tom Hardy is probably the best part of the movie. He doesn't do much or say much, but, like, you just get the energy that he's trying. Like, oh, yeah. He's doing his best.
Like another Mad Max Fury Road. He didn't have a lot of lines in that movie either, but... Yeah, he still portrayed like a really great character.
By the way, I heard that was a stressful movie for him, because he didn't. I read some interview where he's like, he didn't even know where that movie was going on Mad Max. Like, he was just trying to trust the director as much as possible. It makes you wonder, like, how actors feel when it comes to directors, when it comes to like trusting them, like making sure they don't want to walk out on a film. So I'm guessing he did the same thing with this director. Like, hey, I'll give him a chance. Let's do this movie.
It definitely helps if they've made a name for themselves. Like, I think George Miller, he was the guy that directed all the Mad Max films, like the first 3 with Mel Gibson, and then Fury Road when it came out a few years ago.
So that maybe there was some trust. The whole movie's based on his dementia. They do have a couple flashback scenes, but you're not going to get your young Capone in this movie. You're not going to get him like growing up. You're not going to get him how he got started. None of that stuff. It is literally the last year of him living, and I think that's where it's going to get its bad reviews. Because I think people wanted this was not their Capone movie. If they wanted a Capone movie, you know what I mean? Like, they wanted to see a gangster mafia movie, and that's not that. And if you watch the trailer, it's like you could see that, obviously they're going to show the best parts, but you can see also in the trailer too, if you watch it, it's just like, you're not going to get that history of Capone. This is just about the last year of him living. So the story is basically about him living his last year, and the feds and so FBI, and they're still trying to find $10 million that Capone has, which is a ton of money back then, obviously. Oh yeah, right. Like this is in the 40s, 30s and 40s, around that time period.
Big money, man.
Yeah, he tries to remember, and people even in the movie ask him, even family members, they need this money because they are running out of money. So as Capone is living there, they're already taking stuff out of his house. Like, hey, you can't afford this anymore. Like, they're already taking shit out of his house. And so you could tell like he's kind of going broke, but they're going broke. But he doesn't give a fuck because he's already like in the state of mind, you know.
He's like, I already lived this life.
Yes, I already lived this life.
I got dementia. It's nearly my time now, so I don't care what goes on with everyone else.
And it's good that you brought up he already lived that life. So that was part of the dementia stuff that was happening. Was there was a lot of the flashback dementia stuff was him like reliving some of his things, but it's not him having flashbacks. It's more like him walking into a scenario of something happening. So it's like he obviously knew he was in control. There's one scene I really, really liked was he starts to walk down the stairs because some little boy starts to guide him. He walks into a big party, but obviously he's still in his robe, like he's not actually there, but he's having a long dimension of that, and it's just really cool. Like as the party's happening, he gets guided upstairs from some female, and then she gets shot in the head, and then a bunch of shootouts start happening outside, and he walks outside, and
now it's a party.
Yeah. And then he walks down to the party, and a lot of people are dead. He walks outside, a lot more mafia members are dead. And I love this part because I feel like it was so like I don't know what you want to call it, but he was crawling over the dead bodies of mafia members. And I don't know what you want to call that, but I call it art. Because when you think about it, Al Capone's, responsible for a lot of those mafia guys, right? Like he's responsible for those lives, right?
Yeah.
Like even
so like he's going through that memory again, but now it's with the mindset that he's literally crawling through his consequences.
Yes.
In that scene. So I guess you could say.
Yeah, he was definitely crawling through his consequence, and he was not comfortable with it. He was not happy about it. It's almost like he didn't realize what he's been doing. It was a cool scene though, because it shows like where he was at and his mind, and him going back in time. So
it's like the movie is him going through his past, and like of course if you're near the end of your life, you're gonna be
reminiscing.
You're gonna be reminiscing, yes, of all the things you did. So it's kind of like going back to all the stuff he did, and seeing like how he thinks of it, even in his kind of messed up dementia state of mind.
Yeah, my favorite shot was just him crawling over the mafia bodies. Like that like can you just picture that though? Like even though you haven't seen it, it's just him crawling over the mafia bodies like, hey, like this is what you were in charge of. You know what I mean? Like of dead bodies, That
definitely sounds like it would probably be the most thematic shot in the whole movie.
Yeah, it was very artistic. Like I could just I could see a painting of it. You know what I mean?
Okay,
like,
I get you.
And he's in his robe and he's crawling over. It's like living his nightmare type thing. That's why I like that scene the most. Let's get to Matt Dillon.
Okay.
Matt Dillon, the house that built Jack.
Yeah, I was about to say I remember him being Jack.
Yeah. So he's in his introduction
house that he built.
So Al Capone calls up on the phone and he's like, "Hey, why don't you come out? Visit." That type shit. So he comes out and visits him. He talks to him. And, they end up getting on a boat. And all that. And then there is a weird moment before they get on the boat. Is when they're driving to the boat. Al Capone decides to dress up as a woman. I guess that was a disguise. And there is cars following him. And the man was like, "What do we do?" And he's like, "Just keep driving. Just keep driving. Don't worry about it." So that was interesting. All right, so he gets back to the house, and his wife comes out, and he asks for another drink, Al Capone, and then Al Capone's like, "Hey, can you get my friend another drink too?" And then she looks over to the empty chair.
Oh.
Which means he was never even there. So I just wasted all my time thinking Matt Dillon was part of this movie. He is part of the movie, but he's not real.
Oh.
And
it's that old dementia kicking in again.
Yeah.
Acting up again.
So after that happens, Al Capone did not like what she said about him, saying he's like in your imaginary friend or something like that. Al Capone didn't like that, so he got up out of his chair and he called her a stupid whore like 2 times, and then she fucking slapped him. Oh. And he fucking just hit the ground like nothing.
He's like old
and she's like demented. Oh fuck. I just hit Al Capone, and because he hit his head,
the shit out of him,
and he hit his head hard on the ground.
Oh
yeah. And obviously you already know, like, when you're responsible for something for someone that with that much power, you're already like, oh shit. So he ends up showing up again randomly. He cuts out his eyes in front of Al Capone. So Al Capone's laying in the bed and they're talking to each other. And Matt Dillon's like, I forgive you and all this stuff and all blah, blah, blah. So he pulls out a knife. And then Al Capone's like, what are you doing? What are you doing with that? And then Matt Dillon's like, and then he just cuts out his eyes and then places them on Al Capone's chest.
Oh, shit.
So that was So it's like a lot of these scenes are not actually happening. So that's what I'm saying. It's like it's giving you dementia too at the same time. Like it's almost like it's not a movie. It's more like just a perspective of his mind, I guess.
Okay.
I mean, if that's what the director was trying to do,
that's what it sounds like. But I guess
like I said, this movie has no story. Has no story at all.
It just sounds like it's just trying to keep you guessing. It's just guessing whether what's happening is like real or not. But from the sounds of it, it seems like a lot of it is not actually happening. So once you realize that early on, so watching the rest of the movie, you're just constantly thinking, well, none of this really matters. So I'm just not gonna get kind of a sense of drama out of me.
Exactly.
So, like, my suspension of disbelief has been broken.
Right, and you know what? That's probably where the bad reviews come in. And I watched some other reviews, and the most common thing said about this movie is you're not attached to anybody. You don't care about much. You don't care about any of the characters. You don't care about Capone because he's already he is an evil man. But he is a personality that did, stand out. So, as time goes on, there is more dementia scenes. But basically, other than that, bro, not a lot happens. There is a crazy shootout scene. But guess what? It's not real.
Does it happen?
It's not real. He ended up shooting. He pulled out his Tommy gun, and his Tommy gun, man, it was straight up gold. It was the nicest Tommy gun I've ever seen in my life. But he has a freaked out moment because he's having flashbacks where someone is telling him hey, all these people are around you. I don't know if it was Mexicans or Cubans that were around his place doing landscaping and also taking his stuff away. So he came out and he pulled his Tommy gun out and he started shooting him, and you don't see it happen. That's the funny thing though. You'd think it'd be more violent and shit like that. But it didn't happen. It didn't happen that way. But then it does get more intense with that one scene. But then, so I could see why a lot of people are gonna fall off on this movie. It's because it just went wait, what just happened? Why do we care about that? He just fell into a river. He just shot everybody. But then another 5 minutes later happens, and boom, none of it really happened. So that's probably gotta piss off a lot of people, right? Scenes that aren't even happening. And I don't think I've seen a movie that has done that many scenes like that. Have you heard of something like that?
Nah, nothing comes to mind.
Right, when nothing's happening, so it's almost why am I even watching this? You get horror movies that have those dream sequences where they'll have a dream and they'll just wake up you know? Like you get movies like that, but you don't get like movies like this where it's like dementia. So it made me learn about dementia. It actually made me scared of dementia, actually.
Yeah. Dementia is like really scary
because
really,
he's getting dementia of like people telling him like, hey, don't trust these people. Like, hey, they're actually rats. You know what I mean? Like he's yelling at random people in the bushes. You know what I mean? Like there's nobody there.
That might be another like setback for making the movie as well. It could be that, you know, because it is based on a real life person, a real life, you know, bad person. Yeah, it's hard to make a person like that or into a character that's likable.
Like, is a bad person. Like he did do bad things, and it's like you don't want to like him.
Mm-hmm. He's a criminal.
Like I even looked up real stories after this. It was apparently a lot of people liked Capone. They loved Al Capone. Like he just had that face, you know, like the big chubby Italian face, like always smiling.
Yeah.
But just like he was a bad guy. It's just like it's all like I
guess that's what mainstream audiences wanted out of that movie, but it's not what they got.
Yeah.
Would you say that for what it did it really well, or like, well, you said earlier it lost you at a point?
So, I've seen a lot of movies, and I've seen different type of movies. This was a different type of movie for me. I knew what I was getting into, and I know what I expected, and I got what I wanted, but a tad a little bit better than what I expected.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
And I honestly think it was just because of a couple scenes, you know, like I told you about the whole like crawling over the body scene, like him going in flashback. You're not gonna get what you want out of this film. That's where probably the harsh ratings come in. I would love to see if there's some like press interviews from Tom Hardy about it, see what he says about it. I don't think there is. That'd be kind of interesting to see what he says about it. But me being a fan of mafia movies and stuff like that, you're not going to get your mafia movie out of this. You're not going to get any type of movie out of this besides him just being a bad guy and going through dementia. That's basically what it is, right? Like there's not much you can go off of. But I was just so interested, maybe personally or introspective of it.
Yeah,
it's a very hard movie to rate. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
okay,
as long as you know what you're going into, you'll be fine. But if you expected more, you're not gonna like it. You know what I mean? Like, if you expected a mafia gangster movie, or if you expected flashbacks, like, no, you're gonna get a Tom Hardy playing Al Capone, like shitting himself, pissing himself, going like come on, like that's what you're gonna get. That would be comedy, but if you're mature enough, you would see in your mind, you're like, okay, that's not comedy, that's actually real dementia. Like it's not sad. It's not funny to watch somebody walk around with a Tommy gun with a carrot in his mouth, thinking he's a mafia member over here. So,
sounds funny on paper.
Yeah, it's not funny on paper. Like when you're watching it, like when I watched it, I thought I would probably laugh a couple times by hearing the reviews, but I actually did not laugh. Like I could see how immature you could probably laugh at it. You know, like when he shits himself in the bed with his wife in there.
Oh damn!
And you're just like, okay, if your experience or hear about that with other stuff, it's just like, it's not funny. I probably laughed literally less than a second, maybe like 0.3 seconds. Like, oh shit, he fucking shit in the bed, and his wife is right there because his wife wakes up and just like, what the fuck is that smell? You know, shit like that. Or like he pisses himself. He's like, ah. Like, that was his reactions to a lot of stuff. Like come on.
Like, it's probably something that you wouldn't laugh at in the moment while watching it, but afterwards you look back on it, it's like, oh damn, that was actually pretty funny.
Yeah. I wish Matt Dillon had a more of a role. And by the way, he was fantastic in the movie too. It was weird watching him, Matt Dillon, with Tom Hardy. I would actually like to see more of another movie with them two together. Okay. They had good chemistry. And it's funny because Matt Dillon's treating Tom Hardy like an old man. Like, hey, it's gonna be all right. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It's gonna be fine. You shot an alligator.
His only friend.
You shot an alligator. It's gonna be fine. You know. What are you doing? You can't shoot that gun out here. But
so would you recommend Capone?
I recommend Capone only for the certain minds for it. So I recommend it for not expecting anything, something to watch, something to learn about dementia. It's not too entertaining. It's not mafia shit. Other than that, it's not funny. It's not. You don't feel a lot of emotions through this movie. But if you're a Tom Hardy fan, yeah, go ahead and watch it. Even Tom Hardy fans are not watching it either. You just have to get through it. That's what I would say, because I know some Tom Hardy fans already shut it off before they even get to like halfway through it, because they just gotta understand the story. Like that's how it was. Like, you know.
It is what it was.
You just gotta get through it, and watch it, and then you would understand. You know what I mean? Like when you have to watch a movie completely to just like, it's not a deep thought movie, but you need to watch it, and then like a few days later, then you'll understand it. Like when you comprehend.
Yeah, you gotta kind of process it. And from hearing you talk about it, I can see where the movie's going. It's just, it sounds like for a lot of people, it might not be their thing,
right?
But
it's not.
It is. It does have something to say.
It's not boring. It is slow. But, I mean, I think most of the movie takes place at Al Capone's mansion. You know what I mean? Like, it's a very hard movie to rate, to be honest. Like, it's a very hard movie to rate because it's just, like, you don't want it to be bad. I think the cinematography makes up for it. The nice shots, so many nice shots. Like it's still a beautiful movie just to even look at. Like, like just even him, just his old man self, just sitting in his chair, and it's like showing the mansion in the background. Like, there's a lot of nice shots.
That's always good.
But to a mainstream review of it, I'm not going to recommend this movie to anybody. You know what I mean? If you watch it, that's fine. I'm not going to tell anybody, like, hey, you got to go check this movie out. This is for more hardcore, diehard, like, mafia fans. You know, that's probably why I watched it more. And plus Capone, you know, he lived in Chicago for a while, which is where I was nearly born. And I got to learn
Spent some
about
time in Chicago.
But all in all, it was an interesting movie. I probably talk more about it than anyone else is ever going to talk about it. So that's a record right there.
Hey, there you go.
So tag Tom Hardy.
You only get it here.
Tag Tom Hardy. Tom Hardy did a magnificent job. Matt Dillon did a magnificent job. Everyone else did a magnificent job in the movie. The director thing, I gotta ask you about that. What is it? What does it come down to? Like making Chronicle and then Fantastic Four and then making Capone. Don't you feel like that's a weird range of movies for that director?
Not too much. With those kind of movies, like Disney or Universal, what have you, they're trying to get more like indie directors to come direct their big like $100 million production.
Oh, okay. So it was like kind of like experiments type thing too.
Yeah, just to try to get different kind of like styles into their movies. Also, just to lend a helping hand to a lot of smaller directors, which is always great. Like I'll always be like fondful of Spider-Man: Homecoming because the director for that directed a kind of indie horror movie called Clown.
John Watts.
Yes, John Watts.
John Watts.
And I remember Clown being a trailer on YouTube. That's where it started off on his YouTube channel, Waverly Films, or the channel was named Waverly Flams, but their little thing was called Waverly Films, and they would just do like YouTube sketch comedy on there.
Wait, I remember that film Clown. Is that where the his suit starts getting attached to him, and he can't take it off? He can't take it off.
Nope. Like, it starts off really funny at first, and then he eats that kid, and it's just like, oh, this is not so funny anymore. And like, I always loved that turn, and I just felt like a proud dad watching that Clown and then Spider-Man: Homecoming. So just like, wow, like you went from YouTube to this, and that's another. There's another guy, the guy that directed Shazam. He was also a YouTuber. He made.
Wait, hold on. So how do you go from Clown to Spider-Man? How does that work?
Networking. You just have you get in that. He got into that kind of film circle with Clown, and then that got theatrical releases, and then you just got to kind of network with other studios, other production companies. It's all about just meeting people and getting to know people, or just having your agents and managers do that for you, until eventually you get a chance to I wouldn't say audition, but just kind of hey, they're looking for a director for this Spider-Man movie. Do you want to go kind of
But Manny,
go in and kind of pitch, pitch something, or even just pitch yourself as a director, see if they bring you along on it.
But Manny, that's a big jump.
Oh yeah.
How does that happen? How the people that are gonna watch Spider-Man, well, it's owned by Disney, right?
Yeah.
How is Disney gonna watch Clown and be like, hey, that's our next Spider-Man director?
That's the thing. It seems like a lot of the times too, it's horror movie, because horror movies, they turn the most profit, because they're especially nowadays, they're always making them at not even $10 million budgets, but they end up making $100 million in profit.
Mm-hmm.
So Disney and Universal, they see that as just that's they see that as a way to make turn a huge profit. So I guess that's why they're usually going to horror movies and stuff like that, horror movie directors and stuff like that.
So a lot of companies look into horror movie directors.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I never.
That's what it seems like kind of lately. The trend seems like to be the trend lately. Like I was saying that for Shazam, they had the guy that did Lights Out. And Lights Out started off as a short on YouTube.
Okay.
And his YouTube channel is Pony Smasher. And it's just him and his wife. They'll make these kind of shorts, mostly horror, at their house, of just her. And
wait, did you say Lights Out?
Yep.
Dude, that fucking movie gave me nightmares.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even want to talk about that movie. Is that with some creepy lady that would pop up every now and then?
Whenever you turn off the lights, whatever little light there was, there's a shit. Okay, we won't get into it.
No, dude, there's certain horror movies that will interfere with me sleeping, and that was one of them. That was literally one of them. I kept seeing her in the fucking corner of my room, and I never went back to that film. I don't care if they make a sequel. I will never go back to Lights Out. Maybe one day I'll try to conquer my fear, but when you said Lights Out, that it triggered me for a second. And I'm like, wait, that's that one movie that gave me fucking nightmares. And it wasn't even nightmares. I'd be sleeping and just feel something in your room. That bitch was in my room.
Oh, shit.
Just all fucking doing crazy. Oh, he directed Annabelle too? Creation?
Yes, that's right.
Oh, shit.
So he went from Lights Out to Annabelle Creation, and then Universal got him on
Shazam.
Or DC got him on to do Shazam.
Shit, nice.
And he also has YouTube videos on his channel now as well, of him talking about what he learned from doing those bigger production movies.
Wow, I never put
they're really interesting too.
I never put those connections together. So it's funny. Lights Out, and then Annabelle Creation, and you get Shazam.
Mm-hmm.
Once a year. That's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
That's wild. So they really be looking out for horror movie directors for some reason.
Yeah, that seems to kind of be the trend right now.
That's such a weird concept.
Mm-hmm.
I never thought about that. And I think people listening right now is probably like, what the fuck?
Whoa. I didn't know that. That's true.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. All right, so let's get into our topic movie of this episode, Blood Machines.
Blood Machines.
So it's directed by Seth Ickerman. Blood Machines follows two intergalactic hunters that chase after the soul of a spaceship's artificial intelligence. The rapey, misogynistic hunter follows the feminine spirit into a shrine in a spaceship junkyard with a scavenger priestess, and the old hunter watches over in their own spaceship with artificial intelligence. So, Trevor, what did you think of Blood Machines?
Well, like you said earlier in the beginning of the podcast was we thought it was going to be a full feature movie.
Yeah.
Which was not.
But once... Yeah,
that was a disappointment for me.
Yeah, that made things like watching it a little bit kind of awkward.
Yeah, and like I said, I showed you the trailer since like September of last year. So I've been holding on to this movie. I even think I messaged you throughout the months, like, hey, when the fuck is this coming out, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if I would say that, but there's like, I would mention it every now and then, right? Do you remember? You're just like, hey.
Yeah, and then I would just like,